namaste, namaste, and welcome to In Our Humble Opinion.
Ayo!
Once again, we are here with you to debate, to discuss, and to give you our opinions. And really, we need to find out what you also think about these things. And together, here with me is my Gilbert Professor Cheah. I've promoted you, Gilbert, huh? My khaki, Gilbert, and of course, Chris Handsome Henson. So together, we are going to give you some really diverse topics to discuss today. But we are going to be starting on a very good note. It's wonderful always to start the conversation on a feel-good topic, because later on we always have a lot of controversial topics to talk about. This is about a church and how they raised $19 million to help people. But more about that later. Then we are going to move to what do our neighbors think about a very special dish which was launched on Malaysia Day on their menu. And that's what we are going to find out. What did our neighbors think? Then we are back to our beloved Singapore. A topic that has stirred Singaporeans. A topic that is hot. A topic which everybody in Singapore is following very closely. Because there are going to be repercussions about what's going to happen next. This is a topic that we discussed last week, and we want to continue talking about Parti, Liani, the maid, and this topic has gone all the way to Parliament now under Law Minister Shanmugam. And after that, after the hot topic, it's fun time topic, because we've got vouchers that are going to be given by the government to help the tourism industry, and we have Singapore airline flights to nowhere. We're going to talk about that. So, please, listeners, we are on. Today, in our humble opinion, we're going to start first with a church in Chicago that has raised enough money to pay off more than 19 million in unpaid medical debt, according to the Christian Post. And this church, Vive Chicago, worked with the non-profit organization RIP Medical Debt to pay off Chicago residents' unpaid medical bills. This is just fantastic. It is very focused giving. And because my friend here, Prof. Gilbert, has been living in the US for a very long time, I'm going to request that he share what does he think about this giving, about medical fees, and how does that affect us here in Singapore?
Okay, so I think, first of all, the medical situation in America is really, as far as medical costs is concerned, it has been terrible. That is one of the reasons why former President Obama really tried to do Obamacare, was to make sure that everyone would be covered. Because if you don't have insurance there, you're really out of luck. This is a very bad situation there. I've experienced this before myself, years ago when I had a very unfortunate incident and I needed hospitalization. And you rush to the hospital, the first thing they ask you for is your insurance. And if you don't have that, you're done for. More recently, when I was in San Francisco a few years ago and I had kidney stones and I had to be rushed to the hospital because the pain was excruciating. And basically, they gave me some pain medication and kept me overnight, just one night for observation. And the hospital bill came to $20,000 US.
No way.
Yes, for one night.
So then you got the pain again.
I can tell you, okay, so the first thing they do is they ask you for insurance. So thank God I had travel insurance. So I gave them my travel insurance. But they said, okay, you have to claim a travel insurance when you get back to Singapore. You need to give us $10,000 US first. So I had to put that on my credit card and then, pay off the rest. And thank God for travel insurance. For everyone out there, you're traveling, please get travel insurance. Absolutely. Of course, we can't travel now, but when travel does open up, please get travel insurance, especially if you're going to the US. So that just gives you an idea of the astronomical, crazy medical costs. And I just went to a Catholic hospital, St. Francis Hospital in San Francisco. Wonderful people. I mean, until today, I take my hat off to you guys. You gave me wonderful care and very compassionate. But $20,000 US for one night, okay?
Hence the compassion.
I was just going to ask him, did they just give you compassion and free of charge?
Compassion
they
for
gave
20 grand.
They gave me pain medication, no surgery, no nothing, just pain medication, IV drip, and spend one night
No,
in a
so Gilbert,
shared ward.
let us say you come in there and you do require surgery and you don't have insurance.
You won't be treated. You would have to go to a government hospital where there's a long, long wait with gunshot victims, stabbing
But
victims,
is there such a thing
homeless
in the
people.
US also called a government hospital? Like ours is restructured.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
There
there
is.
is government hospitals, But the problem with government hospitals is that really they tend to be really catering to like the homeless population, the gunshot victims, the inner cities, and they're in bad shape. It's not like Singapore where SGH is really one of the premier hospitals in
Oh,
Singapore,
yes. Our
where even Lee
politicians
Kuan
go
Yew
there.
goes there.
Absolutely.
Went
Yes,
there.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
Oh, yeah.
So the other important relevant point about this, which I think is wonderful, is the fact that these people donated money to help clear medical debt. And I think that America, from my own experience of having lived there, and if you look at its history, the sense of community in America is very strong. And I always tell my Singapore friends, one of the reasons for this is because traditionally, for a very long time, the American government doesn't do very much to help the people. And therefore, the people have to help themselves. And there's a very strong sense of community in America. A lot of the soup kitchens in America are run by volunteers. A lot of the services that help the homeless, that help the poor, are all volunteers. And they depend a lot on volunteers, and they depend a lot on people giving money out of their own pockets and not waiting for the government. And I find that in Singapore, there tends to be a mentality that it is the government's responsibility. It's not my responsibility to help my neighbor, to help the poor, to help the needy. And in Singapore, there are a lot of social services, for which we're very lucky. And, there's hotlines you can call and all of that. But I really would encourage my fellow Singaporeans to think more about what it is that you can do, and not just to think about helping the poor and helping the needy as something that the government's responsibility. And I think that that's something here which this church has done, which I think is very good. Now, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that Singaporeans do give of their own money, but not to the same level and as widespread as they do in the United States.
I
for
think what you
example.
mean would be that the sense of community in Singapore is not as strong
Yes.
as compared to what you've experienced in the US. You're right, we are kind people. We have a quiet kindness when it comes to donating money, for causes. Singaporeans are very good at it. I mean, credit where credit is due, for sure. But as a people coming together to lend a hand,
Yeah.
let's call for a town hall together, and
Yeah.
let's try to get something going. Yeah, I'm sure. I know what you're going to say. There are
Yes,
groups. There are
I'm not-
advocacy
I don't
groups.
agree
Yes,
with you.
yes.
There
That's
are
what I'm going to
advocacy-
say.
But look, the advocacy groups have got people who are interested in it. They get involved, sure. But by and large, as a it's not as widespread as we would like it to be.
Yeah.
Where you have a large portion of our population that would say, "Okay, let's do this."
Yeah.
We don't have that.
And
It is already good that we have these groups.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they need someone to marshal this and to start it,
Correct.
basically. So when someone starts it, like for example, a church or a temple or
There's got the funding or the money for it.
yeah, exactly.
No, but you see, I think of it differently. I think of it and I say, for a small country, most of these issues have actually been taken up by the government and they're dealing with it. So what does tend to happen is, as Singaporeans, when we know that something is being looked after, is being dealt with, I suppose naturally you just don't come in and say, all right, I'm going to do something about it, because there is nothing to do there. Like we have our insurance in place. Having said that, I do feel, the $600 that we got during the COVID, it was so inspiring. So many people just gave it for causes.
No, that's
Yes.
exactly
So,
what we're
so
talking
I
about.
think the thing
Yeah.
is, if there is a need, at least now, in today's day and age, with this new generation, if there is a need, I think now we are in that position that people will come together, whether it is for giving, whether it is for asking for justice, whether it is to make a difference.
I think
I feel that.
I think the point is we should also stop this habit of let's ask the government to settle it, to sort
Yes,
our issues
yes,
out.
yes,
That's
exactly.
the point.
Yeah.
The point is that we cannot just leave it. No, don't get me wrong. It's not that they're not doing a good job. It's not about that.
Yeah.
But we talk about a meritocracy, isn't it? Huh? And as a meritocracy, we shouldn't just leave it to the government to handle the issues.
Yeah, and also I think it
No,
goes beyond that. I understand what you're saying,
Yeah, because
Daisy.
if you
I'm saying
don't
that
have medical insurance and
No,
you
no,
have
we're
a
not-
search
no,
that
but I
comes
think
to
that there's still
Yeah,
a
when you
lot
have
of
it-
need.
We're not talking about the medical insurance
No,
here.
I know
we
that,
know it's
but
already done.
when you
Yeah,
say
yeah.
that we don't have that spirit, I feel that we do. See, there's always a place to grow. There's always place to bring
So
in the
Daisy-
spirit even more.
So Daisy, are you,
but I think we do have the spirit.
so Daisy,
That's
you don't
all I'm
feel
saying.
that we are entitled, that we don't have, most of our people are not feeling entitled. They don't feel that we don't have that issue of people feeling, entitlement here in Singapore.
But
Definitely we do.
I
We do,
don't
right? Don't we?
think that
Yeah.
being entitled does not mean that you don't give or you don't come up with.
Okay, so how about this? How about this? Let me give
generous.
you a scenario. I give, so therefore I also won.
I don't totally agree with that.
Okay.
I mean, because I feel that when all these people gave that $600, they didn't give it with a I give.
Yeah, no.
Therefore,
I think
also want.
I understand what you're
maybe
saying,
we
but
are- yeah.
I think that there is still a lot of need beyond what the government
yes,
does.
Yes, of
And
course.
I do feel that on a common day-to-day way, the sense of community is still definitely less so here.
Spot on.
Even in something like your HDB flat, helping your neighbor, seeing someone in need, that kind of not my business with the maid abuse and the child abuse, all of that, still we've got a long way to go on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know.
Okay, so,
anyway,
yes.
it's a call to arms
Yeah,
for all
yeah.
of us Singaporeans.
Yeah.
To
Very
give
careful.
more.
When you say call to arms,
let's,
some people who are,
Okay.
don't have
No.
much on the upper story
Yeah,
might be
in a
thinking
good
something
way, yeah.
else.
Okay,
So-
in a good way. So okay,
So should we move on to the
Yes,
next
yes,
topic?
let's go to the
we've
next
given
topic.
them-
Yes, that's
So
right.
the next topic is very, very interesting because it's about our neighbors.
Laughable.
And yes, it's interesting to know that on Malaysia Day, there was a new dish that was launched and it was called spaghetti lemak. And I'm going to ask Chris to tell us a bit more about this very tasty dish
Who
that
launched
was
it?
launched, but people did not like it.
Well,
so can you
basically-
tell us why?
Yeah, basically it was an Australian-based restaurant
Yes.
that opened up in Malaysia called San Remo. So what they did was they came up with this fusion dish called spaghetti lemak, and it's cooked like nasi lemak in a similar manner, boiled in a concoction of water, coconut milk, pandan leaves, and salt, which is just like nasi lemak.
And then they
Then
added nasi lemak
They added
ingredients.
eggs, yeah. The ingredients of nasi lemak: eggs, your ikan bilis, banana leaves, chili paste, right? Your sambal and all that.
Yeah.
And the Malaysians were up in arms. I'm using your word, man, using your phrase, man. Up in arms, man.
So we've got-
They were tossing nasi all over the place. and, and some of them said that these guys butchered their nasi lemak. And just to read some of the comments. How to offend Italians and Malaysians in a single dish. Well done, San Remo. Thanks, but no thanks. But very offensive image you got there. No! Who eat nasi lemak without nasi lemak? Hello, police, we got a problem to settle the San Remo. I mean, come on lah.
I know, really.
But you know what I want to ask is, what was all this commotion about? Because they
Guys,
just
guys.
took the nasi and they put the spaghetti. I mean, basically.
First of all-
and fusion food
Absolutely,
isn't something
fusion
unknown
food.
nowadays.
But guys,
so
wait.
what was
Is nasi
it?
lemak the national dish of Malaysia?
Correct.
Yeah.
Is it?
No.
Well, they claim every dish to be.
Every damn dish they're saying belongs to them.
No,
But-
not every,
Yeah,
but nasi lemak is close to their hearts.
You know, driving up a storm, right? Or stirring up a storm, a hornet's nest over this. Look, recently we had this, not to mention names, but there was a fast food chain that came up with a nasi lemak burger, right? But we Singaporeans, we're quite cool.
Yeah.
Hey, let's try lah.
Yeah.
Nobody's gonna call pei kao bu about
Yeah,
it.
exactly. And
Then
take
if you
it
think
as
about nasi lemak, right? The origins of nasi lemak. So we also have, look, in Singapore we have the Malay version. We also have the Chinese version.
no.
You know, yeah, we do what? And this has been going around for ages. For example, not to mention the place's name, but it's now located in Tanjong Katong Road. And I mean, your actual nasi lemak is just one small piece of fish.
Yes, yes,
Right?
yes, yes.
Ikan
I've had
bilis,
that one.
or in sambal,
Yeah,
and
and
the
a little
nasi that's
square
cooked
of
with
egg.
coconut milk in pandan.
Yeah.
Huh?
And a little square of omelette, very small.
Correct, a very small square omelette,
I
right?
think
Yeah.
So
Thin.
that's the
Yeah.
original one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's really by the Malays, right?
Ah.
Then the Chinese put in other stuff. You have your luncheon meat, you have your otak, you have your bigger sunny side up and all kinds of stuff.
yeah.
And then the chilies also can be quite different as well. And the fried chicken, big one.
Oh, okay.
Toss
All right.
it there.
So, but they have
Yeah.
all of that.
Yeah, but
They've
we
only
don't
taken
complain.
the nasi and put
It's-
spaghetti.
It's just food
No,
appreciation,
I
man.
think it's about.
Yeah.
I think it was about Malaysia Day. I think the timing was wrong because when you talk about Malaysia Day, where the
No,
Malaysians
I think it's supposed to be a
come
tribute
together.
anyhow. I'm
Yeah.
No,
fine
I mean,
with it.
but the
Yeah.
Malaysians come together. They want to celebrate. They want to talk about authenticity and original.
Well, that's fine.
And then
This is a
Australian
choice. It's
commi-
not replacing. It's an addition to the culinary landscape.
And look,
right?
in Malaysia, right, even in their kedai kopis, if you go down to the mamak shops and all that, they also come up with their own concoction of stuff.
Oh
Yes.
yeah, fusion is
So-
now
and
quite
everyone says,
passé
whoa,
actually.
we go to JB, we want to wall up the food there, right? Because it's so different, isn't it? Who's complaining?
Yeah.
You're not complaining about those things either. Why
And
are you
even
making
other
so much
foods
noise
like
about
roti
it?
john can be seen then as like
Exactly.
when Americans get upset saying, "Oh, you're taking a sandwich, an American sandwich, and making
yeah,
it very
yeah.
local." It's fine,
Yeah,
People
exactly. I
shouldn't be
mean-
so
So,
up in arms
our
about
Malaysian
this.
friends and our Malaysian neighbors will just chill the hell out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, don't get triggered by this.
by spaghetti lemak. No, but yet I always feel
Actually,
it's
it
good to have.
sounds interesting. I wouldn't mind trying it.
Looks, it's always fun to have choices.
Yeah, you think about it.
Maybe when Malaysia Day is gone and everything
and
is
San
over,
Remo
they
makes
might want to
spaghetti,
just come
so
and
it makes
taste it.
sense.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Just think about this, you're in your mind's eye, conjunctivitis. But if you think about the
Cleared up now,
spaghetti-
thank you.
You think about the spaghetti,
Yeah.
right? And the way it's cooked like nasi lemak with the coconut
Yeah.
milk and the
Yeah.
pandan
It sounds
fragrance.
good,
It
actually.
sounds bloody
Carbo,
good,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Exactly. It's like carbonara.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
It sounds
With coconut
bloody
Ah, lemak carbonara.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Ah,
Oh, these
now
guys
you're
are really
talking.
gonna
I'm-
set fire to this
Yeah,
house.
I'm
not?
fine with that one.
But there's something really. The world is changing. The culinary, the tastes. I mean, fusion has become so passé. Everybody's doing
Yeah,
something
actually
to.
it has, huh?
Yes.
Yes, it's fine.
So
So the
when
question
they
is
do
whether or
this-
not this this spaghetti lemak is available in Singapore.
Not yet. But just like the Ramly burger, they will be
So the
launching
question
it
is
soon.
this, okay? So the question is this: if they did something that was more Singaporean, would Singaporeans get upset about it? I don't think so. I think
you
we're
mean
more open to it.
You mean instead of
Actually,
mee pok?
Ah,
they
yeah, I was
would
thinking like
have
mee
something
pok
like
mixed with spaghetti.
But we've
Yeah,
also
yeah.
modernized it quite a
yeah,
bit, but,
spaghetti
exactly.
pok,
right?
or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean, have you think about Singaporeans? In Singapore,
it is a
anything
fusion
in
of cultures.
culinary
Yeah.
stuff that we've got.
It's
here.
all rojak.
So
We-
Roja,
yeah,
right?
we make
Have we
things
ever
up.
have we ever read about anyone complaining about things that we changed
No.
in our cuisine?
Unless
I think
it
there
is
was a whole discussion.
No, I think that if people change it like that, it's fine. But I think people will get angry, when they say, for example, it is chicken rice, but let's say they do it in a different way, but still call it chicken rice. So, for example, if it would say like, let's add curry and we'll call it chicken rice, I think that would be weird. Or add spaghetti sauce, then that would be weird,
Yeah.
because if you adapt it to something different, I think we're fine with it. We'll try it.
But you see, if you go down to Katong Shopping Centre, the chicken rice there is amazing, lah.
Oh, never tried.
Yeah, bloody amazing. Seriously,
Better than Mandarin Hotel.
I'm not going to mention because they're not, no one's sponsoring this show yet, But so I'm not.
No,
I'm
but
not
we
gonna
can
mention
go and
them.
try it out.
You can go check it out. And then next to that, in that same venue, there's great char kway teow. But you see, it's served on ope. I don't know what the heck that is in English. It's like
A
banana
leaf.
leaf.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
a brown
yeah.
color
Oh,
one.
yes,
Right,
yes,
right,
yes.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's just this
Like how
different
they serve oloa.
with something like that.
Yeah.
And there's this
Smell.
no smell is one, but there's also this very nice little aftertaste when you serve it
interesting.
on
Right.
that. So, but originally char kway teow wasn't served on this.
Right, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So people modify
Yeah,
stuff
no,
yeah.
all the time.
But isn't that the wonderful part
Yeah.
about culinary and
Yeah.
about food?
and that's why
Look at the
Singaporeans are
journey
great
of
foodies, you
food.
see.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
We won't really
Yeah.
grumble unless it doesn't taste good.
Yeah,
Unless the service
exactly.
isn't there. People will travel anywhere to eat. and pay whatever they need to pay.
Yeah. Do you remember when MasterChef in the US, when a contestant made rendang and the judge said,
Oh,
your
gosh.
rendang is not crispy, and then everyone got so upset about that? That's the kind of thing. But a lot of people got upset with that were Malaysians, I think, right? Less so
Yeah.
with Singaporeans.
Yeah.
But
But you remember there was a
Sensitive,
contest. You remember there was a contest to talk about which is the best Singaporean dish. And then there was a discussion, and then we said, okay, like this nasi lemak or chicken rice. And every dish we spoke about, actually, Malaysia said no.
They took ownership.
That's ours. We
Yeah,
started
they
it.
took ownership. You see lah?
And then it was quite
Yeah.
interesting because, you see, I think that's being neighbors,
But I
right?
think-
That's being
Well,
neighbors.
I think we should
a
spread this
little bit.
message, and the message is this: we're such a tiny little island, Malaysia, that when we cook, right, and all our kitchens cook together, you guys get hungry because you can smell it from where you are, man. From a small little
Yes,
tiny
and
island, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I just feel
Exactly.
that
Are we
it's so
starting
much
a food
fun.
war here with Malaysia?
I disagree. I just think it's great neighborly banter,
It
like
is.
we are doing right now.
Yes.
It is.
So
on to another kind of banter.
Yes,
Yes,
on
that's right.
to
These are not banter.
a
lah, but-
hot topic.
This is
And
hot
this is
topic.
not just hot nasi lemak or kway teow. This is really important because this topic has stirred the Singaporeans, and that's why it's important to talk about it. And what we think, like the Law and Home Affairs Minister K. Shanmugam will deliver a ministerial statement in Parliament on the issues raised by the conviction and subsequent acquittal of Ms. Parti Liani, the former domestic worker of former Changi Airport Group Chairman Liu Man Leong. Now, I know you all are going to talk about this some more, but it's even important to understand, what do you think made him take this decision of bringing this up in Parliament? Because this is now the next step. The journey is moving. The maid, for those who might not know, we brought this up last week, where there was a court case and the maid was acquitted of stealing items from Mr. Liu Man Leong's home. And there were discrepancies that were pointed out by the judge in the police investigation. And this is now caught fire and is being taken up in Parliament. Would you like to share some more about
I
this?
think that
Gilbert?
this is such a hot topic in Singapore
Yeah.
that it is inevitable that it will be brought up in Parliament. I don't think that, whether it was brought up by Sylvia or whether it would be brought up by the PAP MPs, there's no doubt it would have been brought up simply because it is something that concerns so many Singaporeans. And it also, you got to realize that the judge, the High Court judge appeals judge who ruled in this, also raised a lot of flags in his ruling. So, the Singapore government, being what it is, could not just turn a blind eye to what the judge had said. They would have to investigate all of the apparent lapses or questions that were brought up in this entire issue. So I have no doubt that this was going to be something that was going to be brought up in Parliament regardless.
Regardless.
Yeah, regardless.
So
Yeah.
what do you think, Chris? Do you think it's regardless, this would have been the natural journey, or do you think it was a little pushed, a little helped to get to Parliament?
In my opinion, and I'm kind of glad that it's going to be raised in Parliament. I was quite worried actually that it wouldn't be, and because if it's not aired in Parliament, not discussed in
Yeah.
Parliament, and I wonder why who we voted for.
Yeah.
The idea is to represent us, the members of the electorate, the citizen. And when we see something like this happening in society, then we start to ask ourselves, hey, can this happen to us? Well, I'm glad because I think by and large, the people have been heard. Also, I think the judiciary, I think they've started looking into things as well. I mean, I've been reading about acquittals, cases, some cases reopened, being looked into again. And yes, there have been amazingly cases I would have thought would never go through an appeal, or get an acquittal through an appeal in a higher court. Actually, they've happened. I'm not saying that it's because of what happened with Parti that this is happening.
Yeah.
But I am thinking perhaps that there must have been some amount of catalyst lah. So let's relook into things. Let's make things better. I mean,
But the judicial court timelines are such that they can't just, the judge can't just say, okay, let me go and relook this. It's got to be something that's going to be filed
there must
by
be basis.
the defense.
There must be basis.
lawyers.
I just want to say, when you're talking about timing, I remember the Prime Minister was talking in the last session in Parliament, and at the end he gave this really very emotional speech. And the words that I remember were fair. The words that I remember was, Singapore, each and every person will always be, meritocracy, fair, let's get together. So it was so emotional. And then this happened. I think, like we say, when Shanmugan was speaking to reporters, he told them that various members of parliament from the People's Action Party have tabled parliamentary questions, and also WP Chairman Sylvia Lim has filed an adjournment motion to debate the issue in Parliament. What I feel is, yes, Sylvia Lim prompted this, or the ministers prompted this, but most importantly, I think the people prompted it. In my case, I feel, my God, that's when you realize that when people take responsibility and they are willing to, you said fair, you said justice, you give that to us now. Show us that every Singaporean is equal.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel good about. The netizens on social media and the crowding the social media for demand for justice.
Yes, that's right. And I think it's also important to point out that as much as they are all in the same party, there are definitely PAP MPs that will not just quietly toe the party line. I think even in very contentious issues that have faced Singapore before, such as the debate over 377A in Singapore, you did see a number of MPs who went against the party and stood up in Parliament and voted their conscience. So I think that in a matter like this, where there's so much public interest, even if the opposition had not raised the points, I've no doubt that the PAP MPs would have raised it because the people want it.
Correct.
The constituents want
Oh,
that.
absolutely.
So,
but what is so interesting to see is that, every time we talk about social media, we've sat over here and so many times we talk about its toxicity and, but then sometimes that's the silver lining of coming together, in certain ways.
yeah, but
Because
the comments on
that's-
social media still tend to be really toxic, though. Because if you
No,
go
no,
on,
I'm not talking.
yeah.
But in this case,
Yeah.
I'm talking about more than the people who just come on social media.
Yeah.
I'm talking all levels
yes.
where, whether it's a professor, whether it is a
And it's good that this is being
who
debated.
want
I think that this and being discussed and being shed light on, I think is absolutely essential. So we'll look forward to seeing what is.
What's going to take
What's
place
going
in
to take
chamber,
place.
in Parliament's
And
chamber?
hopefully we will have something to report about that the next time we come.
Well, hopefully.
And now fun time. Chris, do you want to tell us about fun time? We are getting money, vouchers.
Okay,
Well,
Singapore.
not money, but
Well, yeah, vouchers, not money, not money. Vouchers.
Okay, vouchers, which
Vouchers of $100 each.
yes.
For each citizen 18 years and above to enjoy Singapore's own tourism industry.
Yes.
Staycations in hotels, entry into
local
parks,
local attractions.
local attractions, and it's right now they haven't really figured out the mechanics in its entirety, but it's like $10 a voucher, and you can either use all in one visit, and add up all the vouchers you've got, or you can use it in multiple visits. It's all up to the Singaporean to decide. But then again, it's all tentative. It's not yet really been released as to how the mechanics will be like.
The timing is to coincide with the March, June, and December holidays. So I think that it would be popular. I think that there are a lot of people who want to bring their children to local attractions. So I think that it
But not being ungrateful
great
here.
timing.
I'm not being ungrateful of what I'm about to say, okay? $100, okay, if you got a family of, I'm going to get killed for this. A family of, say, 5, and how many of them would be 18 and above, right? So let's say mommy, daddy, and one kid that's 18 and above. I'm being very generous here. That's $300, right? Okay, maybe, one staycation or, maybe 3 days, 2 nights, or 2 days, 1 night.
Yeah.
It's not really a lot of money, but before I get shot,
Yeah.
before I get shot,
Yes.
it's still a generous thing.
Okay, first of all, yes.
Absolutely.
Okay, this
Yeah.
this as the minister said, this initiative is not a social assistance scheme.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
it is basically an incentive. So it's just basically giving people an incentive to help the tourist attractions.
Absolutely.
yes,
basically,
And
yes.
the
Yeah.
most important thing is, why are we looking at a gift horse in the mouth?
Yes.
I mean, to
Say
tell
that
you
again.
frankly,
Why do you give a what?
Why are we looking at give horse in the mouth?
yeah, I mean,
Okay.
Very
really,
cheap, man. Is that a
how
oh my
many?
God,
No,
quote?
no, because how many countries
is being
out
stupid.
there are giving vouchers
Yeah, of
and
course
saying,
not.
"Come on"?
Yeah.
I think it's simply like you correctly said, helping the tourism industry,
Yes.
helping our people. Maybe some won't
Yeah,
get
lah, I'm
retrenched
just
because of those
saying.
vouchers.
Yes.
I'm not saying that
But
it's
you
not
complain
generous.
like you
I'm not
complain and complain like
complaining, I'm
other
just saying that-
Singaporeans. They complain and complain.
Yeah,
I
so the
don't want $10.
complaints,
I don't
so
want
the
these. How like that?
complaints run the gamut, basically.
Yeah lah.
There are a lot of people who say, why only $100?
Yeah.
Okay. Then there are people who said, why are you wasting my taxpayer money, which is not true, on giving away this thing to
See, I'm
Singaporeans?
not saying all these things, okay?
Yeah,
Again, I'm
you're
just
not
telling you
as
what
bad
Singaporeans
yet.
are saying, okay? All
Not
right.
as bad.
So, I
Can I ask you something? Are these vouchers transferable?
I don't know.
Because I'm just thinking, imagine a situation where they are transferable, in which case then all those people who maybe the elderly or maybe for some reason you might not want to go to a tourist attraction, and you can then transfer it to somebody who could be more eligible, or
I'm
like
pretty
this
sure they're
family,
transferable
this
because
family you're
it's not
talking
going to
about.
have your name or anything on it. It's
So-
going to be
so if
given it
that's
to you,
possible,
basically.
then you can
But it's given to
basically
you via your SingPass, you know.
Yeah, lah, but then once it's given to your slippers, I don't think they're going to personalize it with your name or IC
yeah.
number on
No,
that.
so if
you
they've
know?
not launched it, maybe they can help to say, all
I
right,
think they're electronic
you can
vouchers, leh.
transfer it.
I think
No, I'm
it
just
could be
thinking
electronic
if it
vouchers
can
on your
be
phone, your
transferred.
smartphone. I don't know. So
It
if
would be
it's-
fantastic, right?
Yeah,
if
I
it
mean,
could be.
it could be.
So I'm going to do Chris style. Tourism head. Are you listening?
You know that's going to be edited,
If
right?
you are going there, maybe you should think of Singaporeans who want to transfer their vouchers.
Hello.
And
It,
that
it
way
may well be
they
that
could-
you can
Hello.
transfer.
No, why
yeah.
not? Were you always calling out to Pritam Singh? God knows who you call out, so I'm also going to call out
Which
and
always
say,
is edited. anyway.
transfer. Huh?
There's
Transfer-
also a $10 subsidy for each child ticket for attractions.
Yeah, but again, I'm gonna be a little bit of a not a wet blanket, a damp, very damp, no, very lightly damp blanket.
Okay.
Industry players have said that the vouchers will act as a form of indirect discounting for businesses, as lowering prices is a challenge
Yes.
with capacity limits on their operations in place.
Yeah.
So, but they've been told that these attractions, right, these businesses, currently restricted to 25% of the operating capacity at any one time, can apply to increase this to 50% from Friday. But I think, of course, the responsibility is on them to making sure that if there's going to be an event, now you can have 250 people. You can actually have to split them up into packs of 50 and 50 and 50 and 50. So, you know, they've got to somehow find a way to manage that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a hell of a challenge for these guys too.
Well, that's what
That's why I'm saying I'm
what
just
these
a
times are
very
all about.
very lightly damp blanket. Okay,
Okay, but-
don't kill me for that.
But what about the domestic flights, which are going to be launched by Singapore Airlines to go nowhere?
Oh gosh.
So what do you all think about that? Because that's also our national carrier.
Oh,
And what do you think about that, Gilbert?
Okay, so my first thought about that is that I think it's crazy and ridiculous because flying to me at least has never been an end in itself. It is a way to get to a destination, and the faster I can get there, the better it is. All right. So to get on a plane and go through the hassle of the airports and the security, and because that's still going to happen. And then to get on a plane and then to fly and then to go nowhere seems totally pointless to me. But again, I do understand SIA's need to try and generate revenue, but I'm sure there are other ways that they can do it. For example, a lot of people have suggested that they open a restaurant and
yes.
do it, serve airline seats, airline meals and all that. Of course, that's harder to do because you have to set it all up and how long will that last and all of that.
Okay, talk first.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Another.
airline food. You want airline food, Chris? I see.
Yeah, but some people do. Some people actually do.
Especially in Thailand, I heard they have a lot of cafes which are
Yes,
already
yes.
like airline.
Yes.
Airlines.
Okay.
So, what would you like to say, boss?
Yeah.
It's not a silly idea, because when this flight to nowhere thing came out, I was flabbergasted, to say the least. Because to me, SQ, what happened to you guys? What happened to your right brain? Use some creativity to pivot, right? This is what I think, because somebody was smart enough to get people to provide ideas for SQ, and there were 600 respondents with some good ideas, though, I must admit. But here's mine, and I actually posted it on my own social feeds. Use some right brain, okay? SIA, best airline in the world. Service, fantastic. Open up and sell courses on how to up your service, isn't it? In your SIA training center. Why not? And people, I'm sure, some even medium or small enterprises, like even restaurants, F&B enterprises, will send their staff over.
Well, it's
I also have an idea, though I didn't post it.
Let him finish this.
Don't
Yes,
talk
yeah.
while I'm interrupting.
Yeah, okay.
Now the second idea I had was, I actually kind of like what Thai Airways did, but it doesn't have to be airline food. It doesn't have to be. It's impeccable service, correct? You can even have you can dine at the captain's table or something like that. And it doesn't have to be a full-on establishment. It could be a temporary establishment. And then the dining can be different, correct?
Yeah.
This is where maybe perhaps the relevant authorities, like NEA and they're no longer called Agri-Food Authority. What are they called now? These guys, you just help them with the licensing, right? And they all have a kitchen. It could be a makeshift place, and it could be a tentage kind of thing.
Yeah.
And just to tide over the times.
I think the way they're
I have an
thinking.
idea.
Yeah.
Can I give my idea?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not going to post it, but I have to say it here. So I don't know if it's possible, but I think, they've been doing it with the ships where they go nowhere.
Oh boy.
This
But that's
is
because-
you go into international airspace and you allow 2 hours of gambling on board. You change it, you put some roulette tables, you put some blackjack.
Because you have to be
now you're
strapped to
talking
your
money.
seats.
And if turbulence happens, your chips fly
Yeah,
everywhere.
no, you can't gamble.
No. I know practically, but I'm just thinking if there was a
And-
way.
Yeah.
No. So you have small little tables with social distancing, and then you've got
Electronic
your,
chips.
going on.
Electronic
And
chips.
I'm just thinking, why? In Mumbai, when you're on a train, it's amazing what people do. Their journeys, long journeys, everybody is crowded, and in that they actually put a tiny little, a table which they open up, and then they put the table, and then they're all sitting around, and they're actually playing
Cards, yeah.
rummy.
But that's
or,
on a train,
Patti
you know.
or-
Yeah, it's on a
no,
train,
but it's with. I know, but I'm just thinking in today's day and age, because the flights are so stationary.
How about
and you can make a lot of money.
How about charge for come and find out how it's like inside the cockpit of a 777 in a flight simulator? Why not?
Flights, but here we have flight simulators in Singapore.
Yes, we do. SQ have flight
but
simulators.
on the ground.
On
You're,
the
you're
ground.
talking about. I'd like to play roulette in the sky, wouldn't you, Gilbert? Okay.
So-
If y'all have given.
But the funny
your
thing
last
is that some
comments?
people
Yes.
are sorry. Before we go to that, some people are complaining about the pollution because
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, the carbon
prior
footprint. Yes.
to COVID-19. You were flying for holidays and not complaining, okay?
Yes,
so shut the
exactly.
hell up, What are you saying,
and
man?
actually, on that point, there's something important here. They say that even if they do this and operate 10 times a week, these no-destination flights contribute a small part of Singapore Airlines' total carbon emissions, just 0.015%.
Yeah, but people must find something to bloody complain about, right?
Yes. Well, you know,
Okay.
Especially that-
I'm glad you're not complaining for this one. No.
When did I complain today?
You don't like to gamble up in the air.
I don't
thousands-
gamble. It's against my religion.
Okay, then
I-
that's
I-
different.
I-
Okay,
I-
so
I-
now
yeah.
we've come to the end of our very, very wonderful, interesting podcast. And so I'm going to ask my kakis here to give their last comments on today's topics.
Oh, okay. For me, again, you know, the key point is about the community giving and the caring. I think that's something that even if we are somewhere there, we're not all there. We'll never get there completely. Caring for each other and caring for the other person is so important. So I like to encourage more Singaporeans to do that. Don't think of it as just as a government responsibility, and to really just be kind to each other. That's really something to take away, because COVID or no COVID, in the best of times and the worst of times, watching out for each other is really, really important. And there's a quote which I like to end with, is that, you know, we will either stand together as brothers or die together as fools.
Oh.
So,
Hey, the quote from who?
That's
From
so
who?
wonderful.
This one from who?
so
Yeah.
various people.
Various people who were wise enough to quote this.
Yes.
I agree.
That's right.
And
No, your
handsome-
turn, your turn. I'm
handsome,
closing.
I-
I'm closing.
Oh, yeah.
Your
Yes,
turn.
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Ah.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Here we go. Here we go.
because
Here we go.
I'm very stirred. No, because of this topic of Parti, I really feel very close to that. So, in connection to that hot topic, a call for fairness in the justice system that we are all pursuing, I want to quote not Omar Khayyam, but Khalil Gibran.
Who?
Khalil Gibran.
Okay, you Google later.
I'm
who
still
is
a
Khalil
child.
Gibran?
This
Okay,
is a
yeah.
very adult
So,
thing.
can I just say
Sure.
my quote?
Sure.
How can I lose faith in the justice of life? How can I lose faith in the justice of life when the dreams of those who sleep upon feathers are not more beautiful than the dreams of those who sleep upon the earth?
Wow, damn chim, man.
Justice, fairness,
Wow, it's in chim, man.
have faith, people.
Wow.
Justice will be done.
Terror, that one, huh? More terror than
Now
the Omari
over to Handsome. So Handsome can end. Handsome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will quote an unknown singer named Jessica Rose. And her song, and these are excerpts from her song, it's called Quit Complaining. It's kind of nice though.
It's very nice for Singapore.
And yeah, and this is so good. I'm closing because it's quite lengthy. Yeah? Check it out. This is the chorus.
Oh, okay.
And I've been thinking about the things that will matter when I'm older. Because we don't know how long this ride goes. So I'll quit complaining. Got air in my lungs and someone to love. Took for granted things that I've got. It's like I forgot that money don't buy everything. We're not promised anything. And time is short, so I'll make it sweet. And I'll quit complaining.
Correct.
So you've been watching In Our Humble Opinion with myself, Chris Henson, and Gilbert Cheah and Daisy Irani. Like, share, and subscribe. And we really hope you enjoyed this particular episode. And all I want to say to you is, my okay?
But translate. No, you cannot say like that. I feel very upset.
Goodbye, everybody.
No, I want to know what that.
I'll tell you
what?
afterwards.
Goodbye, everybody.
um,
And cut!